Good morning, my fellow hookers. How are you today? So, as usual, here we are downstairs in my office. And I have some good news for those of you who haven't seen my short yet. We found it, we found it, we found it. We have found the Patton's Sea Spray. I know a couple of you have suggested other brands. Yes, they were very, very similar, but this is the actual one I was looking for. And I was unboxing some bits and bobs that I got from my dear Jane. And look what I found. I also did find a few other things that we're going to have so much fun with. The problem is I don't know if we're going to be able to find. That's okay. We'll get around to that. But this is the stuff you want. So if you happen to be garage sailing, thrift shopping, any of that, because they don't make this stuff anymore. I looked and looked and looked and looked. Here in Canada, I cannot find it. So Patton's Sea Spray is the one you want. All right. Now on to today's video. Look what I found in my yarn stash. Some of my favorite yarns are actually some of the least expensive. So this lovely bunch, and again, please remember, I am not sponsored in any way. This is just some of my favorite yarns. So I know I've mentioned them before in other videos. This is the Red Heart Super Saver stuff. You can get it in several different sizes, from the itty bitty little sizes to finish off a project or what have you, all the way up to the full 10 ounces. I have two of the different sizes here. I have the 7-ounce size and the 10-ounce size. The ombre, oh my goodness, I can't say enough about this stuff. This ombre makes such beautiful projects, but I only have one ball of it. That's it. I don't know whether I picked it up at a yard sale, at a garage, whatever, but this is all I've got. So I thought, well, I can make it work. I've had a couple of requests from people at my farmer's market table to make stuff in more neutral colors and beiges and grays and blacks. So I thought, I can do that. And then I also had not necessarily a request, but maybe a suggestion from one of my viewers. Thank you, thank you, thank you to everybody who subscribes. I cannot begin to thank you enough. Everybody who likes and subscribes and comments. Ascendant Hennessy, truly, you are amazing. And all of you that I can never remember all of your names. I will never be able to remember all of your names. I know that Kimmy, Wrangler, oh goodness, I've forgotten all your names. I'm so sorry. There's a lady named Pat. I believe she might have been the one who suggested this. Sorry, I just need to take some caffeine. Alrighty. So all of you who comment, I appreciate you for constructive criticism or wonderful, wonderful things that you say. Either way is wonderful. I cannot thank you enough for all of the subscribers, all of the likes, all of the views. We are so close to being able to go live. So close. And I can't thank you all enough. Okay, back to work. So here we are with our Super Saver, our Red Heart Super Saver here, and our Red Heart Super Saver Ombre. Look at that. Look at that color change. Isn't that just gorgeous? So it comes in so many colors, and they still make it. Yay! It comes in so many colors. I've seen it in this beautiful blue here. This is called Scuba. This one is called Anthracite. See, there we are. And again, it's a lovely neutral tone. It's got the blacks all the way into almost white, not quite white. And there we are. So now I've paired it with, what's this called? Light gray. And I know that it's not exactly the same, but I think that it will work because, like I said, I only have one and I want to make something a little bit larger for my table. So for the lovely viewer subscriber who suggested that perhaps larger ladies and larger people, because I actually had, side note, had a wonderful young man come to my table. And he bought one of my ponchos, and I asked him, I said, hey, did you, what is it about the poncho that you love? And he says, well, it's for me. And I'm like, great, I don't care. So it's purple. My son-in-law loves bright pink. I don't care. And he said, so you don't mind if I wear it? I'm like, wear it in good health, my dear. just enjoy it. So it had, it was one of the ponchos of my own invention. It had a hood, it had a pocket. He fell in love with it and he bought it. I was just tickled pink. I don't care who wears my stuff. I just want people to wear it and be cozy. So again, here is a much more neutral color for men, women, and everything in between. So I want everybody to feel comfortable shopping at my table. So here we are. So anyway, I will get everything back on track here without my rambling. The one thing I do like about Red Heart to start is you can start from the beginning, from the outside and go in, or from the inside and go out. And the nice thing is this one going to do it? Yes. So, whoops. So we have a little one and we have a long one. The long one is, oh, you stinker. Oh my goodness, it's going to make a liar out of me. Oh, no, it didn't. So there we are. We got our little one and I can pull right from the center on it. And it just goes and goes and goes. And I love Red Heart about that. I do wish that Hobby would pick up on this, and some of the other brands would pick up on this. Even when you have a half one like this that's gotten mushed around in your stash, it just comes poof right from the center and goes out. It's wonderful. It never, and I shouldn't say this because now it's going to tangle on me, but Red Heart Super Saver very, very, very seldom ever tangles. Ever. It is wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to be using, it says to use a 5.5 millimeter hook, or if you're a knitter, a 5 millimeter. And again, you can wash it, you can dry it, don't iron it, obviously, but machine washable and dryable. It's got better instructions on the inside. I do always tell people to lay flat to dry, but it's all good. Now, this one is a 10 ounce, am I right? Yes, 10 ounce, 482 yards, 440 meters. Oh, goodness. My nose is very itchy today. We've got so much pollen in the air. So it's 10 ounces, 283 grams. These ones are only the 7 ounces. Yes, these are the 7 ounces, a bit smaller, 198 grams, 364 yards, 333 meters. Again, it's a 5.5. Where'd it go? There it is. 5.5 millimeters, size 4. But the project that we're doing today, I'm just going to put those two away. We're going to start with my half-used one. We're going to be using today 10, 17, so about 20, 21, maybe no more than that, 21 ounces of yarn. So about 1,000 meters, I think, will give us what I need to make this as big as I want. Excuse me. And it should be enough, I think, I hope, it should be enough to get the length that I want on this. What we're making today is a very, very simple, it's a granny square again. It's very, very simple. We're going to be using 6 millimeter hook. There we go, 6 millimeter hook, yarn needles, and of course our scissors. Be careful, they're sharp. So I'm going to be using the 6 millimeter instead of the 5.5 because I do like that flowy, beautiful, gorgeous look to it. I don't like the stiff shawls. Okay, so that's why I'm using the 6 as opposed to the 5.5. You're more than welcome to use the 5.5. You'll probably use, it'll be a little smaller, and that's fine too. But you can make this as big or as small as you want. Now, this shawl is not going to be a typical shawl, which is why sometimes I've called it a cape or a capelet, depending on how long or how short you want to make it. Okay, so for those of you who do like, instead of the shawls with all the pointies that are sometimes a little harder to fit around, this one is perfect. Okay, there's a couple of different ways that we can do this, but we're going to do it the way I originally made this. I've made this twice now, one just as is and one with a hood and pockets. So for the first video, we're just going to get started. I'm going to let you keep going for a few rows, and then we're going to come back and do a second one after I've gotten a bit more done. Okay? Excuse me. So let's get started. So this one, because I had used it before, I was smart enough to take it from the middle. And now I can just go as is. Okay, so again, we're going to start with our obligatory slip knot. I'm going to tuck my hook through, pull up that bottom, and we're done. Okay? Again, so many ways to do this. So many ways to do this. Now I'm just going to put you down just a little bit more. There we go. How's that? That's perfect. All right, here we go, everyone. So for this one, we are going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, because it's a wearable, I'm not going to be using that magic ring. There is going to come times where I am going to use that magic ring, but for right now, I'm not. And I'm going to slip stitch into that very first stitch, very first chain. Oh goodness, that was tight. There we go. And I have a nice little ring there. Okay. If you need to, you can make this 5. Okay. That is totally fine. If you need a bigger ring, you make it 5. That's fine. Okay. Now, because again, we're doing the granny square, we're going to pull that up just a little bit. We're going to make this a little looser because we don't want our edges to be too tight. We're going to do the twist. We're going to tuck it through that ring. We're going to grab the yarn and we're going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. There we go. We are started, everyone. Now we are going to complete the granny cluster. 1 and 2. Beautiful. Now, I'm not 100% sure if the first one I made was chain 2 or chain 1. I seem to remember because it is gone. It's sold right away, quick. So I can't even look back on it. So we're just going to chain 1 at the beginning. As we get further along, we might find that we need to chain 2 in those roundy bit corner things, okay? But because this, again, isn't going to have points, I seem to remember I only used 1 chain, okay? So then we're going to do another granny cluster. 1, 2, and 3. We are going to chain 1 again. 1, and you'll notice it does look like there's going to be a point here, but there's not. Trust me. And we're going to do 1 more. 1, 2, and 3. And for those of you who are just joining my channel, I have, pull that a little tighter, I have tutorials on everything from the double crochets to the chains to the slip knot, all of it. I have it all. And please feel free to go back. If I've done this too quickly, go back, check out those tutorials, rewind this, whatever you need to get started. Okay, now we are going to turn. Excuse me, I just have to blow my nose. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm all back. Sorry about that. That was very rude. Now we're going to make a granny cluster in this very first stitch. Okay, so right here, but again, I don't want that chain 3 to muck up the way it looks. So I'm going to do the twist. I'm going to do my standing double. Again, I did have a subscriber. My goodness, thank you to all my amazing subscribers. Who said that this looks like witchcraft. So, you know what, just keep practicing. I promise it isn't witchcraft. I promise. So I'm going to do 2 more to finish off the cluster. 1 and 2. Oopsie, I missed. And 2. Okay, whoopsie. There we go. So there we are. And you can see this is still quite tight. It's still quite close together. It's still going to give a great deal of comfort to whoever's wearing it, but it's still going to give me that flowiness that I like. Okay. Goodness. Alrighty. Now I'm going to chain 1. And then in my chain space from the last row, I'm going to do, I'm going to do an increase cluster. Okay, now what this is, in this here, 1, 2, 3. So just like we're going to be doing a corner, we're going to chain 1 and we're going to do 1, 2, and 3. All right. See that? So wow, we really increased that. So here's our, starting going, and we do have some holes in there. Again, if you're using a smaller hook or a finer yarn, those holes will be less noticeable. Okay. I really like this Red Heart Super Saver, and I didn't have anything else to do with it. So I thought that that's what I would do with this. Oops. And I lied to you. Look at that. Got a little yarn barf after all. All right. So now we're going to chain 1. We're going to do another granny increase. So 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and 1, 2, and 3. Okay? And then in our last stitch, the very, very first standing double, we're going to be doing another granny cluster. Oh, did I chain 1? I forgot to chain 1. I did forget to chain 1. Look at that. So we've done our increase clusters. Now we're going to chain 1. And in our very, very last standing double, there we go. We're going to do 1, 2, and 3. Oops, there we go. 3. Now, as you can see, most shawls by this point are going straight. This one is going to curve around nicely. Do you see the difference? All right. So this one, what happens is, instead of being like this with their points down here, this one is just going to circle around your shoulders beautifully. And it's so soft, and it's just, when I kind of got this idea from somebody else, I'm not even sure who the pattern was way back in the day, but I didn't like the way they did it, so I just changed mine slightly. So, excuse me, if I can find that other, if I can find that pattern, I will actually mention her in the bottom. I'm pretty sure it was a her, but I don't remember. So here we are, and let's start our next row. Okay, so we're going to turn our work, and again, we are going to do the twist, nice and loose, and we're going to, there we are. Whoopsie. Now with this one, we don't have to increase, okay? So we're just going to leave her alone, okay? We are going to now, one moment, we are going to just create clusters in each chain 1 space. So chain 3 double crochets, chain 1, find our next one in the increase, 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, chain 1, find our next chain, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, find our next one, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and there we are, 1, 2, and 3, and then chain 1, and we are at the end already. Goodness, you just did get a bit of a mess. And now we're going to find that last standing double. There we are. Oops. There's one half of the V. There's the other half of the V. And we're going to just do a double crochet in that. Okay? Now it kind of got a little oopsie-doopsie here. That's fine. We're going to be doing an increase again. So let's get that going. So again, we're going to lift up, and we are going to do a, oh goodness, 1. But we're going to kind of cheat here a little bit. We're going to bring the second 2 of our granny into that spot. The reason I do my first in here is so I have a nice, barring this, I have a fairly nice straight edge, okay? A lot of other people will just do their granny in here. I don't like that because then I get this wonky looking edge. I like nice straight edges. It makes it easier to put a border on. It makes it easier to work anything into it. And it also makes it a nice, tidy, neat looking edge. Alrighty, so chain one. Now we want to do a cluster in each chain space again. There we are. 1, 2, 3. One, oh, chain one. See, chain one. And then 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, and what we're going to do again here, we're at the end already, and as you can see, it's kind of doing what I want it to, but not what I want it to. It'll be fine, I promise. Now we're going to do 2 double crochets of the granny cluster in here, but our third one is we're going to push that over just a little bit. Our third one is going to be in our standing double if it cooperates. Come on. And there we go. You can, if this is too fiddly for you, you can do all 3 in that space. It's fine. Like I said, I like a nice straight edge. That's why I do my last one into the double crochet of the round before. You do not have to do that. You can do all 3 of them in there as well. If that's what makes you happy, then do it. Remember, this is your art. This is everything that you want, right? You can change it. You can do it. Take my patterns, take somebody else's patterns. If you take what you like from everybody's patterns, mine and everybody else's, and then make it your own, okay? Do what makes you happy. Be kind to yourself. I always say that. Alrighty, so now's when we do the increase row. I do apologize, I didn't do that before. I'm following notes that are very, very scribbled that I made, I don't know how many years ago. And I scribbled it as I went along, so sometimes my DCs look like something else, and yeah, so I'm not even going to show you how messy my writing is. So now this is row 5, so we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now for row 5, again, we're going to do the twist, and we're going to come into this very first one, and we're going to do a full granny, Nope, we already did the granny. So this time we're only going to do a chain, the initial standing, and we are going to chain 1, and now we're going to come in and we're going to do an increase in each and every one of these chain 1 spaces. So chain 1 and do another granny. Chain 1. Do another increase, and what you're going to find here is that it's going to start laying flat again. Okay, so another granny cluster, chain 1, there we go, and now we're going to be doing another increase. Okay, and another cluster in that same chain 1 space. Okay, so this is what we're looking like. We look like we've got some pretty little petals going on here with a chain in between. Okay, chain 1. Oh, there we go. And we're going to do another increase. I know this seems like a lot of increases. It's okay. It'll work out, I promise. Chain 1 and another increase. Chain 1 and we have one more increase to do. Chain 1 and our last granny cluster. And chain 1 and we are going to do one single solitary double crochet in that standing double. Okay? Now, if you take a look, we've gone from almost too tight to a bit more loosey-goosey here. And that's the way we want it to happen. This is always designed to kind of fit around your shoulders. The best thing you can do, however, for yourself is keep these really super loose on the edges. That'll prevent the bumpiness, okay? So keep this super loose. Your very first stitches should be super loose. So when you're doing your standing double, don't come out to here, but don't keep it as short as possible either, okay? Kind of go halfway in between. And there we go. How are you liking that so far, everybody? I think it's just absolutely adorable. And like I said, what I've done in the past, because I've got this kind of, it almost looks like wings here. Okay. I've actually just covered that up with a hood or a collar. I do love my Peter Pan collars. They just look so adorable. Not everybody likes them though, so I don't do a lot of them, but I do some. I usually try to save them for the little itty bitty ponchos and stuff. I should probably take a picture of one that I've done that's just so adorable. And before it sells, because I've had a lot of looky-loos on it. So there we go. Now we kind of have this little, almost like a pedally thing happening. You don't have to do as many increases as I did, but I find that if you don't, it kind of bunches up on you. So keep the increases going, keep that pedal look going. It'll be fine. I promise it'll work out in the end. All right, so let's turn our work. And we're going to do now, the other thing to remember here, okay, is every second row, we've got a granny, a double, a granny, a double, okay? So every second row, you're going to have a granny cluster to start, and then on the off row, you're going to have one solitary double crochet to start. All right. Now I'm going to take a little break because I can hear somebody knocking at my door, and I'll be back to you hopefully in just a few minutes. Well, that took a bit longer than expected, but I did get a lovely cup of coffee with a dear friend. So here we are. We are on row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we are on to row 6. So now, because we finished this row with a single crochet, we are going to do the twist and do a granny cluster, kind of sort of a granny cluster, but kind of a modified granny cluster. Oh, goodness. Oh, boy, that didn't work out well. Let's do that one again. All right, there we are. Okay, so, oops, now I have to finish that one. Sorry, I am just all thumbs right now. Okay, here we go. So we're going to finish that row with a single a lonely double crochet. Now we're going to do the twist, and we're kind of going to make it a loosey-goosey one. That's okay. And we're going to start the granny cluster in the first double crochet that we finished on. And then we're going to do the rest of that granny cluster in that chain 1 space. Okay? There we go. So again, we've gone granny cluster, single double crochet, granny cluster, double crochet, granny cluster. Okay, now this round is just going to be, this round and the next round, just going to be regular granny rounds. Okay, so we're going to chain 1, and in each and every single crochet space, we find the single crochet space. That's not the single crochet space. There it is. And we are going to do a single solitary granny cluster in each chain 1 space. Okay, So there we go. Find the next chain one space, and we're going to do a granny cluster. Chain one, next space, granny cluster. Whoopsie. There we go. Chain one, find the next spot, granny cluster. Find the next spot, granny cluster. Okay, and every chain space around, we're just putting in a granny cluster. That's all we're doing. So this is not an increase round. All we're doing is now we're just adding rows, because as much as I do like flowy stuff, I also recognize that if I made it an increase each and every round, it would get out of control. So we're going to save all those major increases for the very end so we can get that flowy look, right? So keep going, keep going. We're almost to the end. Okay, now again, we're going to do our last granny cluster, but we're going to do our first two in here. And then so that we've got a nice even border, we're going to put our last double crochet of the granny cluster into that standing double crochet. Okay, and look what's happening. We've got this lovely, lovely look going on without any corners. So again, it does become a shawl, right? But it's not going to be one of those pointy shawls. So this one is going to be very, very different. If you do want to make a pointy shawl, we can do that as well. Let me know. But here we go. And on our next round, we're going to again do a bit of a looser one. And we're just going to place that standing double in that first, okay, single crochet. And now we're going to skip right to that first chain space. Okay, and this is again just a regular round. So keep doing your granny clusters all the way around in every chain space you've got. Okay, and I always like these ones because again, I find that you can cuddle babies. As a grandma, I'm all about the cuddling of the babies and the littles. And even I've got a 5-year-old grandson who is autistic. And as long as I've got something cozy and cuddly on, he'll crawl up into my lap and we'll have tickles and cuddles and all of the good stuff. And he lets me kiss him and hug him. And as long as I'm wearing something like this, he loves it. I am planning on making myself one, I hope, of something that's very, very soft. It's probably going to end up being a Karen latte cake, maybe, if I can afford to buy myself enough yarn for it, or if I find something that Jane gives me. I was just texting with her as well, so that's why it took me a bit longer. We've got some sunshine coming in my window now. The sun's moving around, and oopsie, there. Oh, come on. I missed. Oops, there we go. Let's try that again. And so I'm thinking that I want to make that kind of sort of my shawl kit for me. I've made so many that I've put on my table and people have loved them so. I've got one on there right now that so many people have looked at and gone, oh, it's so pretty. All right, so we're at our last granny cluster. Okay, so we've gone all the way around, and as you can see, it's starting to bunch up again. That's fine. I promise. Our next round is an increase. So we're going to chain one, and we are going to find that very, very, very first standing double, and we are going to get it all. Yep. And we're going to put our last double crochet in there. Okay. So again, you can kind of see how this is coming down. It is because I made these a little tight. Okay. Caution, caution, caution. Make those first stitches a bit looser. Okay. We're going to start doing that now. But we are going to be putting a collar or a hood or something on here so that it's fine. I promise. I promise it'll be fine in the end. Okay? So here we go. So now for this round, there's our increase round. We've done 2 rounds of no increases. So now we are going to do, another increase round. Now, the one that I had originally seen, oh, goodness, I hit my phone again. The one I had originally seen was that you do 2 rows and then an increase, and then 3 rows and then an increase, and so on and so forth. I didn't like it. So I wanted it to be a little more loosey flowy. So I'm going to do, in my pattern, I did change it, that this one, okay, this next increase row, we're going to do another increase in each and every chain 1 space. So it is going to make it like this one, but I find that it comes around just a little bit nicer. Okay, so for this one, we are again going to start off with the modified granny cluster. So we're going to do loosey-goosey, do the twist, and do our standing double. And then in this chain 1 space, we're going to do 2 more. Okay. Then we're going to chain 1. And in each and every chain 1 space, we're going to do an increase. Okay. So granny cluster, chain 1, granny cluster, all in that same chain 1 spot. Okay. There we go. Boop. And in the next chain 1. And in the next space, we're going to do an increase again. Okay, chain 1 and another granny cluster in that same spot. I have this all in my notes, and I'm kind of glad that I did get disturbed because I was able to read my notes and do that difference. But again, you're going to find that this is going to happen. It's going to get all nice and flowy and fluttery. If you don't like this look, okay, when we get a little bit further along, you'll see it a little better. But if you don't like that flowy, wavy look, you can do an increase in every other chain spot, okay? I just really like this flowy look. And again, for those of us who maybe enjoy life a bit much, these looser flowing ones just fit so much nicer. Excuse me. Obviously haven't had enough to drink today. My allergies do kind of get me a few times. Okay, so there's another double granny cluster for the increase. Next one. Allergy season is for me all year round. I have different allergies to different seasons. Heck, some years I'm even allergic to bloody snow, but that's okay. That's okay. I can live with it. And in the summertime, I find that it really affects my throat. And for those of you who suggested that, slurping is nasty, yes, I agree 100%. That is why I do my best not to slurp. And you'll also notice, okay, that it's almost like we're creating petals every few rows. And that was another thing that I did like about doing those increases a bit more than this original pattern. Again, I am so sorry. I don't know where it comes from. I will do my best to find it. Okay? But yeah, slurping is my mortal enemy. I hate it. I don't care how hot my coffee is. There is no slurping in my house. So there you go. It still bothers me that you can actually hear me swallow. I didn't realize that on the video, so I'm truly sorry about that. For those of you who have ASMR, is that what it's called? ASMR? Issues? I'm sorry about the swallowing. Alrighty, so here we go. We're going to do another increase. 3, chain 1, and another granny cluster in that same spot. And I had thought when I was modifying the original pattern to this, I had thought that I really kind of like this look, and maybe I could devise a pattern that I could use this look with. So maybe we'll be guinea pigs in my next videos, in future videos, and see if we can make flower petal shawl or something along those lines. I might have to do some research and some playing with some yarn. So again, I'm doing an increase, and we'll see what I've got. And there we are. We're almost done this round again. There we go. Okay. So when we get this round done, I am going to get you started on the next one, and then I will leave you to finish the next round and come back. Oops, did I do that right? I did. Because now our rounds are getting a little bit longer, and my videos have a tendency to be ever so long. And on these bigger projects, you don't need to listen to me babble the entire time. It would take hours and hours and hours to do. Okay, so there we are. All right, and already I can feel the difference using that larger hook. Even though this still hasn't been washed and it's still not as soft as it could be, this is going to be so much softer. Okay, so we are at the end of this round again. So chain one, do just like we did at the beginning. So we're going to do 2 double crochets in the chain one spot. And because I do like those nice straight edges, I'm going to find the top of my standing double, which is hiding on me. Come on. And the other side. There we go. And I'm going to do my last one. I'm going to kind of make it a little bit looser. Okay, there we are. Another round increase is done. And what that's going to do is, if I was to, wave it out a little bit, it kind of makes it go a little bit wavy. This early into the project, it doesn't. But down further, another, half a dozen rows, that's what's going to happen. Okay, so let's start. For this next bit, we're going to do 2 rows again, just like before. So this row and this row. We're going to do 2 regular rows. Okay, so in every chain 1 space, you're going to put a granny cluster in. All right, so let's just start this off. So again, we just need a double crochet to start. So we're going to flip our work. We're going to make it a bit loosey-goosey. Do the twist, poke it in there, and do your standing double. Chain 1, and again, come right over to this first chain space and do a granny cluster. Okay, so in every chain spot, we're going to do a granny cluster, chain 1. Okay, not the increase row. This is just a regular granny cluster row. And this will also, so you can see how if we did this end at the end, okay, at the end of the shawl, you're going to see this lovely, almost like a Ripley effect. So this is what we're going to do for the most part at the end of our shawl, is this lovely petally look. It's just going to be a little sideways, that's all. Okay, let's get back to work. So again, all I'm doing for this round is doing granny cluster in each and every single crochet space. And then I'm going to do a chain 1 and then a granny cluster. So I will catch up with you at the end of this round, and see how everyone is doing. All right, see you in a few. All righty, how did everyone do? So again, you can see that it's kind of, that now's when you can really see it's kind of Ripley, now that we've added to that increase row, and that is how I love it. Okay, so it's all good. And also, the thinner the yarn that you use, so if you were to use a 3, I wanted this one a bit thicker because I do like cozy. I know I've confessed that to everybody before. I love cozy. I do like the lighter summer shawls as well. I have some of those made, but I do like this coziness. Even when I was still buying shawls back in the day, I opted for cozy over summery any day. All right. So now we're at our last chain space. So I'm going to do my last granny cluster. And chain one, there we go. And I'm going to just do one solitary, lonely double crochet in the standing double from before. Okay? So there we go. We are done row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we're going to do one more round or one more row of the regular granny. So what you're going to do is we'll start it here now. So again, we're going to turn our work. We're going to pull up a nice long standing double. We're going to tuck it into that very, very first, if it's going to behave itself. There we go. Oh goodness, that was tight. What were you thinking, Sherry? Bloop. Okay. And we're going to finish the standing double. And again, we're going to finish the granny into that chain one space. Okay, there you go. So see how nice and straight that's coming along. Whereas if you were doing it in here, this would be sticky outy and so on and so forth. If you like that look, please, please, please feel free to do it. It's fine. If you're finding that doing it into that first double crochet is fiddly, please put it into that chain space. It's fine. I promise. Again, this is all about you and creating, oh, I broke a nail, and creating for you. Okay. So again, in every chain one space, we're going to do a granny cluster. Chain one and granny cluster. Okay. So as you can see, it's starting to get longer and longer and longer. So I will leave you alone to do your own work. You don't have to listen to me jabber. And I will catch up with you at the end of this row. Alrighty, so I'm already back to the end of my row, and I'm just going to do 2 double crochets in the chain one spot, and then finish my granny cluster by using that standing double crochet for my last double crochet. Okay, so again, you can see it's a bit flippy floppy here. I love it. I absolutely love it. However, we need to, oh, my chickens are playing outside. I can see them through my window. We need to make it a little less flippy floppy before we add another increase round. So we are going to, after checking my notes, we need to do, so here we did just the regular start, increase, 2 rows of regular, an increase, 2 rows of regular, an increase. Now we're going to do 3 rows. So 1 more row of this regular, then we're going to do an increase. Okay? So we're going to flip our work. We're going to pull that up and we're going to do the twist. We're going to tuck that in there and away we go. Chain 1. So again, all the way around, all you're going to be doing is doing a regular granny cluster, whoopsie, chain 1 in each of the chain 1 spaces. Okay? So regular granny cluster, and I shall catch you up at the end. All right? I'll see you soon. Alrighty, so I'm at the end of that row. And I can already see that it's starting to straighten out a bit. When I was holding it, I noticed it was starting to kind of pull in a little bit. So I think that the 3 rounds is perfect. I'm going to do an increase round now, but we're not going to increase in every stitch or in every chain 1 space. All right, so let's finish this one off. I got to do it. Goodness. There we go. I've got to do a chain 1. And again, I'm just going to make, just like at the beginning, I'm going to make 1 single solitary crochet, double crochet in my last stitch. Okay, there we are. Now we're going to go on to an increase round. And I had thought as I was working on this last round, I had thought, well, maybe I should change my yarn color, but I don't think so yet because I want to be able to turn this and make it into a collar, okay? And I still want to be able to showcase that beautiful changing color of the ombre. So I think I'm going to do about another 2 or 3 rows of this same color. I've still got lots of this first ball. So, yeah, I think I'll do another increase round. Increase round. I'm looking at my notes. Sorry, ladies. Sorry, everybody. I'm doing an increase round now, and then we'll work 4 because we've done regular, increase, 2 increase, and now we've done 3 increase. So we're going to do another lot of 3 rows of regular, then we'll do another increase after that, okay? So rather than trying to explain that to you in my very, very weird way, I'm just going to do the increase round now. So again, we're going to do a nice loosey-goosey, do the twist, and, oops. Now, when we're doing the increase rows, especially when it falls on one of these rows, we don't do an increase at the very beginning, okay? We don't do an increase at the beginning or at the end. So here we are. We're going to do the rest of our granny cluster. Come on, out you come. There we go. We're going to do a chain 1. Now we're going to do an increase. So we're going to do 1, 2, 1 granny cluster, chain 1, and another granny cluster. Okay, so on this round, we're going to be doing an increase cluster. Increase cluster in every other chain 1 space. All right. 3, regular granny cluster in this one. Now we're going to do an increase 1 in this one. Chain 1, another granny cluster. All right. And chain 1. Okay. So there we've got regular, increase, regular, increase. So now we've got to do a regular in this next chain 1 space. Okay. How's everyone doing? And now we're going to do an increase because we just did increase, regular. So now we're going to do an increase. So we're going to do granny cluster, chain 1, and granny cluster all in that same chain 1 space. Okay? Has everybody got that? Is everybody happy with that? So again, we're not increasing in every space because that would just make it, whoa, way too much fabric. So we're just going to do it every other time. We're still going to get lots of flowy, lots of happiness happening, but we're not going to get holy cowness happening. Trust me on that one. You don't want, I mean, as it is, you can see that my little wings are starting to come out a little bit. I do want that. Trust me, I do want that because again, this gives us the availability to create that collar shape if that's what we want to do. So I will pose that question to you while we're finishing this row off. Would everyone like to put a hood on this? So regular granny cluster. Would everybody like to put a hood on this, or would everybody like to put a collar on it? So now an increase cluster. So basically what you need to do if you're going to put a hood on it, you need to keep enough of this one, which is why I think after this round of increases, I'm going to probably switch over to the anthracite yarn, to the ombre yarn, sorry. All right, so now I need to finish that increase. Because you want to make sure that you have enough to make a good sized hood for your shawl, your poncho, or what have you. So when I change colors over, I need to make sure that I've got at least, I don't know, at least a third of what was left in here. So if this was 7 ounces to start, I want to make sure that I've got at least 2.5 ounces, right? So this one was not, but I also know that I can make it work. It's all good. So now I need a regular. So let me know in the comments below whether you all would like for the rest of the video, because I'm going to post this and then I'm going to post the second half of it, because already I think we're probably an hour into this, and I'm trying to keep my videos shorter. I'm failing miserably, but I'm trying. And it also depends on how long you want this. There are some people out there that like little capelets, and that's fine too. So at that point you want, let me just grab my, I know I'm changing subjects again. Sorry. But at that point you want to really measure, okay, we're already 7 inches into this. So if you're making this for yourself or even for your table, okay, you want to kind of gauge on yourself. And I would show you myself today, but I haven't done my hair today, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just actually going to measure from my neck all the way down to where I think a capelet would be good, which is around that waist portion, depending on whether you want it long-waisted or short-waisted. So for me, okay, looking at me, because again, I am a little bit bigger, so I've got some front stuff going on there. I would probably make this about 21 inches long, which means that we are almost, okay, well, we're not quite halfway there, but we're getting there. Okay, we need about 10.5 inches. That's not that far. At that point, I would be switching colors. Okay, for sure, because otherwise it's going to look very weird. If I'm only going to be making a 21-inch poncho, a 21-inch capelet, I would have probably switched maybe back here after the last increase round. So I do apologize that I didn't mention this sooner. Maybe I can put it in the comments. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Please forgive me. I am still learning this whole YouTube thing. But we're going to make this particular one longer. So I'm going to stop here and say, if you want to make this a capelet, you want it about 21 inches. If you wanted an actual shawl, again, remembering that we have shoulders to deal with, we have chests to deal with, we have sizing to deal with. If you want this for yourself, make sure that you're making this comfortable for yourself. Okay, so what I would do if it were me, okay, I would measure from the top of my shoulder, right where my neck is, and I would take it probably at least, maybe even to the edge of my hand. Now this here takes it to my wrist, and I just did a quick measurement, and this takes it to about halfway down my hand, so about here. And I can be happy with that, because that gives me a fairly nice, and again, it'll depend on how much yarn I have left and how far it goes. I may not get 33 inches out of it, but I'm going to try. Okay. This is the problem that I have when I only have one ball of 2 or 3 different colors. And here again, and I caution you, be kind to yourself. Always remember, if you're going out and buying yarn for this project, buy an extra ball. What's the worst that can happen? We have to turn it into granny squares later, right? So buy that extra ball. Be kind to yourself. Your dragon hoard of yarn will love you for it. Okay? So when you're making something for your table, for yourself, for a friend, for a gift, for whatever, okay? Always buy that extra ball. I don't know when I first started how many times I only bought exactly what the pattern that I was making told me to buy, and went, oh, but I don't have enough. And I was playing yarn chicken for that last few rows. I would rather have an extra ball or an extra half a ball or an extra whatever that I can do something else with than not having enough. So I always caution everybody who starts this descent into madness. Everybody who starts becoming a hooker, more is always better. I can always make it a few extra rows long, especially when I'm making shawls, blankets, ponchos, sweaters. I can make it a bit longer than I need to make it. right? So it's all good. I can make it bigger. I can make it smaller. I can make new stuff out of it. I can what have you. Okay, so as you can see, I've done all the way around. Increase, regular, increase, regular, increase, regular, increase, regular. And hopefully my counting actually worked out and it won't mess me up. I say that trepidatiously all the time. Did I count right or not? But that's okay. We can make this work, I promise. And there's our increase. So the next one is a regular. So yeah, let me know whether you want to make a hood, whether you want to make a collar. I'm good either way. Oops, I think I messed up on this. That's okay. We can make it work. Okay. So we got a regular, regular, boop, increase. Yep, I did. That's okay. We'll make it work. Increase and increase. For those of you who are on the same row as I am and you didn't add or subtract any rows in between, okay, you're going to find that you have 2 spaces left, okay? We want to try to make it as close as possible to our beginning. So we are going to put another increase round here. Again, there is nothing that we can't change or modify to make things work. There are certain patterns that we can't. Obviously, when we're making graphgans, that rule goes right out the window. You have to be able to count and make it accurate. But we're not making a graphgan. We're making a blessed shawl. So here's 1. And here's 2. And remember our last stitch in the granny. Oh, it looks like I split the yarn last round. That's okay. That's okay. I can forgive myself for doing that. And oops, I did it again. Goodness, let's try that one more time. Our last stitch of the granny cluster goes into that standing double that I made a mess of. But I'm not going to take it out and start over again. So again, we've done that increase. Now we are going to do 3 rows. We're going to do, yes, 3 more rows of that regular stitching, remembering to always go solitary double, granny cluster, solitary double, granny cluster, all the way up, okay? We need that to be there, all right? So the next 3 rounds will not be an increase round, okay? So what you're going to do for all the next 3 rounds, and I will let you do these 3 rounds on your own. We finished here with our granny cluster, so we've got to do 1 solitary standing double. Ooh, I almost lost it. I did lose it. Let's try that again. Let's try that one more time. Goodness. Okay. This is what too much coffee does to me in the mornings. Do the twist. Pop it through that first stitch. And there we go. Chain 1. And in every chain 1 space around, we are going to do a granny cluster. That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing. Remembering to end with your solitary double crochet on the other side, because you have to have even Stevens on each side. Each side has to be exactly the same. Okay, and as you can see, again, we're almost, but not quite turning it into more than a half circle. And that's what we want. Because again, for those of us who are a little bit rounder, who are a little fluffier, we need a little extra roundness. And that's the way it is. So I shall leave you here and I will come back. Oopsie, too many double crochets. Got talking. I shall leave you here and I shall come back in 3 rows. 3 rows of regular double grannies. One end ends in a cluster. I'm sorry, let me try that one more time. One row ends in a cluster. The next row always ends in a single double, in a solitary double. The next row ends in a cluster, and so on and so forth. Okay? Goodness. So the next 3 rounds or 3 rows that you're going to do are all going to be the regular rows, no increases. Okay? And I shall see you back